Mr. Jesse Norman.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Madam Deputy Speaker. I beg to move that the draft airports slot allocation, alleviation of usage requirements number 2, regulations 2023, laid before the House on the 18th of July, be approved. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, to the casual and untutored eye, this might seem like a very small piece of legislation to lay before the floor of the House of Commons, but let me say that not only is it important to its sector, it's also a useful illustration of the work of ministers and parliamentarians in committee, and so it's nice to have a chance to focus on this quite technical and I think not especially controversial piece of regulation. These regulations will be made under powers conferred by the Air Traffic Management and Unmanned Aircraft Act 2021, also rejoicing in the name of ATMUA. Following the UK's departure from the European Union, this legislation created a more flexible set of powers for ministers to implement alleviation measures for aircraft slots related to the impacts of COVID-19, subject to a vote in both houses. This allows the UK to adapt its approach so as to minimise disruption to consumers and support the recovery of the aviation sector. Under ordinary circumstances, airlines must operate aircraft slots 80% of the time to retain the right to those same slots the following year. This is known as the 80-20 rule, or the use it or lose it rule. This is designed to encourage more efficient use of scarce airport capacity. As a result of the effect of COVID-19 on air travel demand, however, alleviation from this rule has been provided since summer 2020. The Department has seen a strong recovery in passenger demand during 2023, but there remains uncertainty and a lack of resilience in the industry, and demand on some routes remains below the levels seen before the pandemic. These factors affect both the demand side, such as in the number of returning passengers, as well as the supply side, such as with aircraft availability and staffing. They add to what has been termed a long COVID tail in rebuilding resilience in the sector. Thus, aircraft that were out of service during the pandemic are now spending much longer in maintenance and overhaul than would normally be the case. This phenomenon is compounded by difficulties stemming from the pandemic, which have affected access to spare parts through global supply chains. Although the industry has taken steps to address these challenges, they are expected to remain an issue during 2024. Government's therefore designed a package of measures for the winter 2023 season to mitigate the adverse effects of this loss of resilience. The normal 80-20 rule on slots usage has been retained. However, it's been combined with some limited flexibility through a small pre-season handback allowance and a continuation of the previously adopted justified non-utilisation of slots measures. In this instrument, the government has focused measures on a return to business as usual. We're mindful of the need to balance supporting the sector through sensible and proportionate measures to aid recovery and indeed to protect consumers from disruption, with the need to avoid excessive alleviation, which could potentially distort competition. There are two key provisions. The enhanced justified non-utilisation of slots provisions, first introduced for winter 2022. These act as a safety net for airlines if new restrictions are introduced, and they can justify not using these slots. They protect the airline's historic rights to slots in scenarios where any reintroduced COVID-19 measures might reduce demand or the viability of a route severely, but there must be a rationale for any request for justified non-utilisation of slots given to the independent coordinator for assessment on its merits against the provisions. The second provision is a limited slots handback. For this winter season, the government will again allow carriers to claim alleviation on up to 5% of their slots in any airport handed back before the start of the season, as was done for this summer. Government has offered this opportunity in the expectation that industry will deliver a realistic schedule for winter 2023, thereby minimising last-minute cancellations and delays. The opportunity to hand back slots before the start of the season has been particularly useful in ensuring that airlines deliver a robust schedule and has helped to provide certainty to consumers that scheduled flights will operate. The measures will cover the winter 23 season. The Department of Transport is considering whether further alleviation may be required for future seasons. Through these measures, the government aims to strike a balance between supporting the sector and minimising disruption to consumers, while encouraging recovery and ensuring the efficient use of slots.